everyone, I'm doing a video for you. Oh my god, my hands look like gnarly old lady hands. Okay, anyway, so what I'm gonna do right now, oh, I'm so sorry about the light, by the way. I don't have a lamp yet. My desk is pretty blank right now. My light's behind me, so you're gonna see me make some shadow puppets. Anyway, okay, so I wanted to do a tutorial about how I draw and color my eyes, because those are, pretty basic, simple. Anyway, let's go through my supplies that I have right now. Ignore my ugly hands. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Okay, so first I've got my paper, which is very, very basic sketchpad paper that you can find in basically every store. And I have a paper beneath it. It's my little bleed paper. I call it my bleed paper because my alcohol markers go straight through this paper and onto the back of the paper. So I need something to save the rest of my pages from getting bleeding marker on them. And it sucks because you can, if you see, you can see like the colors from my bleed paper through it. But anyway, I try not to let that distract me. And next I have my basic mechanical pencil. This has been my buddy for so long. Like, I finally replaced the eraser because it was gone, so I replaced that. I don't know, it's been my buddy for a long time. And over here I've got my Tombow soft brush pen, made in Japan because I'm fancy. They're actually really inexpensive and super fun to use because you can control the weight of your line art, which you'll see when I do this example. And then I have my white jelly roll pen, a size 8, which is actually pretty big. I wasn't expecting it to be as big as it was. But, so details are hard to get, but it does help with highlights. And then I've just got my kneaded eraser. These are the best friends of artists because you can just clean them and reuse them. This is just a tiny little bit of my big kneaded eraser. I use the big piece usually just to go over my big artworks to erase all the pencil. Anyway, and then of course I've got my Ohuhu markers, and these are all of my alcohol-based marker colors. There's lots of different ones, but it's only the 60-piece set. The 80-piece set has quite a few more colors in it. And over here I swatched my colors so that I could see what they were actually going to look like on the paper, because obviously, it's not gonna match exactly. Like, there's the yellow. It's a little brighter on the marker and it's darker on the paper, so you should probably always swatch your alcohol markers to see that you've got the right colors. Anyway, on to the tutorial. Okay, so we're just going to do a few examples of eyes and how I do them. So my first eye is just going to be my basic little cutie patootie eye. And I just draw a big circle for wherever you want your eye. And then this is going to be the actual eyelash. So I'm just going to go over in dark the part that I want the eyelashes to be, and this is just how I do it. I know everybody does it super differently. And then you're gonna draw where, like if your little person's gonna look this way, you draw the, oh my gosh, I forgot my eye anatomy. Iris? Yeah, iris over here, and then of course the pupil in the middle of it, and you can make the pupil as big or small as you want. Just like you can make it show different emotions. Like if they're scared, you make it really tiny. If they're sad or like excited, you make it really big. But anyway, I'm just gonna make a moderate pupil right here. Anyway, so that's the basic outline of my eye. You can draw little eyebrows up here above your eye, make it however big or thin you want. You can make little hairs in the front. And then if you want, you can draw the eyelid. I don't usually draw the eyelid, but there it is. If you wanna. This is kind of anime-ish style, I guess. I very heavily based my art on anime style. This video is going to be horrible quality. Anyway, so when you're done with your little sketchy sketch, you take out your lovely brush pen or whatever you want to use to ink. And as you can see, the brush pen is pretty big. And when you put it down on paper, you can do like little teeny marks or teeny to big marks. Teeny, big, big, teeny, you know. So that's why I like the brush pen, is because you can focus on the weight of your strokes. Anyway, okay, so that's what a brush pen does. So on here, you go thin at the top and then make a bold mark, because, you know, eyelashes. And then you might want to go over it a couple times. I'm not perfect by any means, and I probably go over my lines way too much. Anyway, there's the eyelashes, and then if you want to, you can add like actual lashes wherever if you want to. And then you'll go over and do the iris. This girl is looking way over. Sometimes people like to do really broad outline for the iris. I don't usually, but I guess I am today. And then you come in to the pupil and outline that sucker. Then you go over here and you do your little eyebrows. Color that in or whatever. You don't have to color it in black. Usually I do, just because whatever. If it's thicker, sometimes I'll make it the color of the hair. But if not, it's whatever. We're just going to color it black today. Alright, so that's your basic sketch. And then you can, you know, usually it's dry by this time. Sometimes it's not. I don't know. This paper's kind of weird. Then you go over it with your little eraser and you erase the sketchy sketch lines. And you're left with your little eyeball. And then you can go on to your colors. Now, for my colors, because I don't have a lot of options, for eyes, you really want to try and do, or I try and do something gradient. So I like it to be light on the bottom and go darker at the top, because the dark part is where the eyelid is. It gets darker and more shaded up here, and then more shiny down here, and then you add highlights or whatever. So for my colors, I can basically use 2 colors of eyes, maybe 3, because as you can see with my reds, I don't really have a lot of options. They're all basically just dark, and then I have orange. And for orange, I just have a dark color and a mid-tone. For my yellows, I use that for eyes a lot because I have a light tone, a mid-tone, and a dark tone. For my greens, I also do for a lot because I have light tone, mid-tones, more light tones, and then super dark tones. For my blues, I basically just have dark tones and then one little light tone over here. And then the same for like pinks, they're kind of all over the place. Browns, I might be able to get some gradient eyes in there, but for the most part, they're really different and they're really dark with one little light right here. So I usually just leave the grays for like, I don't know, something silver or like shading or something, so I don't really use that for colors. But so for this one, I guess I'm gonna use yellow just so you can really see the gradient, because this has the best light, mid, and dark tones that I have. So my yellows, I'm like, okay, I'm matching. So look at this. That's the lemon yellow, okay. You can see this is lemon yellow on it. If you can see it, it's not focusing, but you know. And then that's what it looks like on my paper. So obviously the color is super, super different. And that's another reason that you swatch. You swatch. See, Canaria yellow, it kind of matches, a little darker. And then melon yellow, super dark. Like this is more lemon yellow than melon yellow, but you know, that's what you get. So first, you always, always, always want to put your light tones on the paper first, because you can always make it darker, but you can never make it lighter. So the light one I'm gonna do is my Canaria Yellow for the base. And I just go in really light over here, and my brush pen is smear proof, so my alcohol markers aren't gonna make it smear. There is a lot of markers, fine liners and brush pens that will smear with alcohol markers, so you want to watch out for those if you get those. So I just lay that down, and while it's drying, I'm gonna go back in here to my Ohuhus, and I'm gonna get black. And this is what I use. And I mean, you don't have to use your alcohol markers to color in the pupil, but I do because it's more of a, it's like a bigger space, and I don't want to waste all of my brush pen filling it in. I guess I could use my fine liner. Actually, yeah. So because Ohuhu markers have two tips. They have the bullet nib, and they have the broad nib. And the broad nib I hardly ever use because it's so broad and it's a chisel tip and it's just really awkward and I don't know how to color with it yet. But the bullet nib is really big, like really big on these markers. And it doesn't look super big, but when I'm using the paper that I use, it bleeds really bad. Like I'll start in one spot and it'll just like bleed out from there, and it'll just get wider, so it goes through my liner really bad. So I'm gonna use my fine liner to color in the pupil while my yellow is drying, which it's dry right now, but we're just gonna give it a minute more. My fine liners are hiding from me. Okay, so this is just a crappy little fine liner I'm using that I got at a crafty store, and it's an 05 size. It's the second biggest one that I use just for filling in spaces or making line art or whatever. So with this one also, I have my white jelly pen to make the highlights on the eyes, but when you color over dark colors, like the yellows are a little bit lighter, but darker colors like black, which the pupil is going to be, it makes the tone really like blotchy with the jelly pen. So I'm gonna leave a little space here for where I want the big highlight to be, and then I'm gonna color in the rest of the pupil around it. And maybe just like some other areas like that. And I usually don't make my eyes so big so the detail gets really lost in it. So the detail right now is like terrifying. But anyway, so I'm gonna leave a little highlight portion here for the pupil for light. Okay, so that's my fine liner. Now I think, okay, it's not quite dry yet. This paper is really porous. This sketch paper is super porous. So all of the ink from my markers gets sucked into it, and it doesn't dry very fast. And if you don't let the previous layers dry, sometimes they'll start smearing into the next layers, but my yellows usually do pretty good. So now I'm gonna do a darker tone. And I'm gonna start basically in the middle, and I'm gonna make it come up to the top. And I don't want to touch the bottom anymore until later. And with alcohol markers, if you go over the same color again and again, you can make it go darker and darker. I mean, only to a certain point, but if you like want this bottom yellow to go darker, you just take the same color that you had and then you go over it again and it'll go darker. But I don't want to do that right now. I'll show you later because I want it to stay pretty light. And I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. While I'm letting that dry, I guess I'm gonna come over here and just doodle on a little nose. Here's my little nose, making half a face. Half a face. I can't match eyes very well without sketching it out really well first, so I'm just going to ignore the fact that she may have another eye. And, okay, so I'm going to say that that's dry enough. And I'm going to go in with my darkest shade, my melon yellow. It's kind of orangey, but, you know, whatever. And I'm going to come up at the very, very top, and I'm going to match it with where the eyelash is coming in. And I'm going to go over it real dark. So now you have this gradient shade, light, mid, dark. And those colors are going to lighten up a little bit as they get more dry. So usually I like to leave spaces where they are and then start coloring other stuff while I am doing, while I'm letting these ones dry. But since I'm just doing an eye right now, I just have to like dry. Anyway, now I'm going to go over it again with my Canaria yellow because I want to leave a lighter highlight on the bottom a little bit and make it a little bit darker coming up toward the midtone. So I'm going to go over all of it again. I'm going to leave this little space here, and you see how it got darker because I'm going over it again with the same color. And it's making the midtone darker, and as you can see, it's, maybe you can't see, but it's smearing that dark color a little bit because I didn't let it dry. It's whatever. Okay. So then I have another gradient of color because I let that yellow dry. So there's that piece. And let's see. We're gonna give it a little bit of a skin tone while we're waiting for that to dry. Here we go. So I'm gonna, and these colors always go on. Oh shoot, it's smudging. Oh, this paper sucks. Okay, so this, I need to get like legit media paper. Yeah. Anyway, so go around the eye, and this color, because I told you that it bleeds, it's gonna bleed right into that white part of the eye where I don't want it to be, so I should have left more space, but I didn't. Oh well. And this skin tone is gonna get like super light when it dries. Make it over here. Go over it again and again because it's a dark space. Okay, so I've got a little funky skin tone. It looks like she's got a patch on her eye. So the eye should be dry enough right now to start adding some highlights, which I do very last, of course. So I know I've already got less white, but I'm gonna go in with my jelly pen again and just make it super bright. Maybe take out some black on that outer spot, make it really round. But you see what I mean? Like, it can't take out everything, so it's gonna leave a little bit of black. I'm gonna try and blotch it out as much as I can. But it's basically just picking up the black. So yeah, it's not really gonna go anywhere. I went over my line. Okay, and then I usually leave like a little teeny dot or a medium-ish dot like over here for another highlight. And then I come in from the bottom white and I streak it up here. This is just how I do eyes, of course. This is my way of coloring them and highlighting them. Everybody has a different way to do it. This is what I learned from picking up from other people and making it my own. Oh, those highlights look terrible. I really need a media paper. Ah! But anyway, pretend those are like super bright white. Probably show you something better on digital, but I don't. Anyway, and so that's the way that I do eyes, from sketch to color. Oh, it looks so bad. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this funny little, oh, well, I guess we could go over how to do different, like, shapes of eyes, because I did circular. I just start, you know, like if I want more of an angry man eye, I just start, like, I'm gonna start with an oval. I just start with basic shapes for eyes because I'm pretty bad with eye shapes. Say he wants to be looking up, so, you know, he's looking up into his eyelids. He's pretty angry. Angry people tend to have, like, smaller pupils, too, and guys don't tend to have as big pupils as females. So then I come over here, maybe give him, like, more of an angular eye, because he's, you know, angsty. So I start making more, like, shapes with it. There's the iris. He's looking up. He's real angry. There's this pupil. Oh my gosh, he's so mad. I mean, if it's a guy, don't really put eyelashes because it's just confusing. If you make creases in his eyes for, like, if he's, oh god, it's starting to look like an alien. Okay, so we're gonna pretend that I did not just do that. Go over here. Of course, sketching out in pencil first, you can go back and erase it. Guys tend to have bigger, bushier eyebrows. Anyway, you get the idea. You get the idea. We're gonna go over it with our little lovely brush pen. And sorry, I'm using this hand to hold the camera, so I'm not sure where it is, like, ever. Different shapes for eyebrows. Get creative. I don't know why I have a habit of making the highlight come from the right side. And for guys also, they tend to have, like, smaller highlights. They don't like to have their eyes highlighted so much for some reason. I don't know, guys. If you make them right, they can look pretty, but you make them wrong and it just sucks. Okay, anyway. I'm ranting. It's late. I'm tired. Anyway, so we're gonna go back through here and hope it doesn't smudge. Oh, it's smudging so bad. Oh my god. It's got, like... Okay, this is a happy mistake. We're gonna pretend he's got, like, a scar coming through. It's Uncle's scar. And it's, like, actually in his eye for some reason. Okay, yeah, we're gonna pretend. Anyway, see what kind of color we want to use. I can't really use blue, unfortunately, because it doesn't have a mid-tone. It just has light and dark tones, and that just sucks. I have, like, these greeny kind of colors, which are kind of mid-tones, but they're too different from blue. I don't know. Maybe I could mix those up a little bit. I'm scared to color on it now because it's smudging. But anyway, that's how I do eyes. You know, start with basic shapes and all that BS. I hope you had fun on my very first tutorial just for you. It sucked so bad. I need something, obviously, to hold my phone because this is just the worst thing ever. And I need a lamp because nobody likes to be watching shadow puppets while I'm videoing. Okay, anyway, bye!